What up, Nation? It's your boy Tommy SB. We're back at it again for another edition of the Wise Take NBA DFS podcast. It's Monday night, folks. Had a good weekend. What's going on, CK, man? Long time no see. How you been?
Good, man. You know, taking care of some family stuff right now. Still out here in San Diego. San Diego. Supposed to be sunny San Diego. Feel like since I've been out here, it's been more rain than sun. But could have stayed in Jersey for that. But all right, man, overall.
Any snow?
Nah, none of that. Luckily.
Well, you missed all that, man. We got like, I think 3-4 inches yesterday. It was nasty, wet, like sticky ass snow. Snowballs were baseballs if you tighten them up. If you like pack them down hard enough, man, it was horrible.
Glad I missed that.
Yeah, that's for sure, man. So we got ourselves some nice 6-game slate locks at 7 o'clock. First game up is Orlando, Philly. But we'll dive right into the position by position like we always do, man. So what you got a point guard, CK, above, we'll say above 6?
Oh, man. Been out of the loop for a little bit. I've been keeping track. But for those of you that are wondering, doing the pause this week, we're going to start off with that. I should be home sometime next week. Not sure. When I get home, I'll be full-time. I'll be back into the content over at Wise Take for the premium side. In the meantime, I'm just going to cover some podcasts while I can. Just keep connected with the nation. But speaking of point guards,
we've been holding it down.
No, I know, man.
It's
been a beautiful thing. I know the hockey guy's been doing awesome.
Yeah.
I know Hoff just won another $10,000. That's like at least the second time he's done that this year. Not including like all the wins in between. But when you get a 5-figure win, those are worth bragging about. So I know shout out to the Hoff, shout out to Brew. Brew's also doing the golf thing with Cash and DFS. Those two guys have been working it. Cash, yourself. Doing an awesome job at NASCAR. Wiggy just won like $2,000 in MMA. Our MMA analyst, he's been doing awesome. And the members have been winning. Everything's been going great, and it's perfect because everybody's getting their bankrolls built up for baseball season. So I saw a lot of the YouTube comments, and people, hey, this is a basketball show. Don't talk about baseball. Well, you guys won't be saying that come baseball season. I guarantee you. That's all I'll say for baseball.
Hell yeah.
But anyway, point guards, right?
Yeah, man.
All right, looking at point guards, Russell Westbrook, obviously going to be someone we have to look at. He's been very disappointing as far as I could recall with Paul George out. Paul George's been out for a little bit now, and Westbrook has been extremely disappointing. Matter of fact, barely breaking 40 in his last 2 games. That's a little concerning.
Wow.
But it is against Minnesota, a situation where there's a lot, between Karl Anthony Towns, Wiggins, Rose, Teague, some of these guys. There's a lot of ways they can score the ball. So Westbrook may have to be a little bit more involved. I'm not quite ready to give up on him. The question is, do you want to pay up for him over James Harden, who is only $200 cheaper on DraftKings? Harden has been kind of coming into his own once again. Went for like 95 2 games ago. Went for like 63 against Boston.
That was the quadruple overtime game, right?
What's that? When Harden went
95?
No, I don't think so. Oh, yeah, actually, maybe.
Okay.
He played 44 minutes that day, so there may have been overtime involved. The quadruple overtime was that Hawks-Chicago game, though. Totally.
Oh, that's right.
But yeah, so Harden's definitely, his price has come back down to the 11, so it's reasonable. You don't need him to go for 90 to hit value. So against Toronto, a game that should be pretty good, assuming Kawhi Leonard plays. Right now I kind of lean towards Harden over Westbrook, but I think the majority of people will also, just because of how bad Westbrook's been. Kyrie Irving's kind of interesting at 8-8 against Golden State. I don't like the fact that they're on the road, and I especially don't like the fact I read a report that Kyrie is like kind of checking out of Boston. I guess I know there's been some turmoil there with the Boston Celtics players. I know that some rifts between the younger guys and the older guys, and from what I heard, a report that I read earlier, came across it on Twitter, is that Kyrie's kind of checked out. I don't know if I quite believe that. He still had a pretty good game against Houston. Probably could have played a little better in the fourth quarter. He didn't do much. Maybe there is some validity to that. But Kyrie, man, when he just gives a shit, when he actually tries. I mean, against Washington, he put up 40, and he only took 15 shots. Against Houston, went for 43, only took 11 shots. So if he's actually into it and he actually does play, he's got so much upside. He's only 8-8. So I am worried. But, I'm going to have to analyze that situation tomorrow. I think Dame Lillard at 8-1, that is a really good price for Dame going up against Memphis, a team that not all point guards have destroyed, but for the most part, a lot of these point guards have gone off. I know Dame's last game was not impressive against Charlotte. This whole this whole road trip hasn't been all that great, but assuming that Memphis can hang around with Portland, I do think Dame at 8-1 is a very, very good price. There's a lot of options. Definitely a lot of options. Even Chris Paul's been playing well. There's a lot to look at.
All right, man. Anything else above 6K? You want to jump into value time?
I mean, we can sit here. I don't want to name every single player. I think Harden right now is one of my favorites. I know on FanDuel he's shooting guard only. So if I had to pick another guy outside of him, it'd have to be Dame. That's just a price thing. You know, I'd love to say Chris Paul at 7-7. See how shout out the cash. But you know, for a little bit more to get Dame Lillard, it's very tempting.
Yeah. Well, with Harden, he's 12-1 on FanDuel, and then Jimmy Butler is the next one.
Yeah,
at 8,400, so that's a huge price gap there.
Yeah, I think Harden, as usual, if you play both sites, Harden is always going to be a better option to me on DraftKings, where you get, number one, you're not penalized as much for the turnovers and all the bonuses you get on DraftKings, double doubles, triple doubles, you know, the bonuses for 3-pointers. So, especially with the way the pricing is, Harden is definitely a DraftKings only kind of thing from where I'm standing.
Mm-hmm. All right, yeah, I'm looking at that too. It's like that's what happens over on FanDuel lately. Is if you play Harden and he does super well, you're at the top. If he does horrible, you're not even in the same zip code. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, there's just such a huge commitment with like usually $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 difference between him and the next guy. So they're really, you know, forcing you to look really hard, I guess, at that price to make sure you think that night it's worth it.
Yeah, it's important. You got to know the, you know, understand the rules of the game you're playing. It's very, very important.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but whew. So what you got down at value time, man? Starting off with McCollum at 6K, be the break point.
Yeah. If Paul George is out again, we can take a look at Schroeder at 5.5, especially in cash games. Again, that's if Paul George is out, assuming that Schroeder will start as he has the last couple of games. The one time they did an experiment started Marquise Morris, but they bailed on that pretty quickly. So I would assume that they're going to go back to Schroeder if PG's out. The next guys are Teague and Rose. Teague is the preferred option. He is the one who typically starts. I don't like the minutes I've seen from him. He's been up and down. Seems like he's constantly hurt, him and Rose both. But at 5.3, it may be worth the risk against a guy like Westbrook. I would imagine if this game stays close, like, you know, there's some pretty good games. We got Houston, Toronto, Boston, Golden State, and this is another one of those good games, Oklahoma City, Minnesota. So if this game does stay close, I do think Jeff Teague is in a position to see an increase in minutes. And at 5.3, he doesn't really need to do a whole ton to pay that off. So I think Teague is pretty attractive. Down from there, DeLon Wright is an option. I much prefer him if Mike Conley is out again. I'm not sure what his status is. I think he's questionable right now. But if he is out, DeLon Wright is certainly someone to consider. But more than him, the person I've been the most impressed with, even if Conley plays, is probably Avery Bradley. This guy is a guy that I just completely shit on all year. But since going to Memphis, and like Memphis has a ton of injuries, they got rid of their entire team. If you look at some of the tools out there where you can take guys on and off for usage, they basically have a brand new team. And Bradley has been doing a lot over there. So he's taking a lot of shots. He's very aggressive. He looks a little bit more like we saw in Boston when he was over there with Isaiah Thomas. So Avery Bradley is one of the more attractive options, I think. After that, there's not a ton that I love. I mean, there's guys you can always take a chance with, but nothing that I particularly love under that.
All right. What do you think about Avery's game time decision thing? It says his wrist, but
yeah, I mean, he's had that for a while, but he's been playing, so I'm assuming that he's going to play. If he's out, obviously don't play him, and I think that would help DeLon Wright's case even more. But he's had that tag for, you know, a few days now, and he keeps playing. So I would assume that you know, he's going to keep going.
All right, man. So we'll jump right into shooting guard, man. What you got over there?
Let me take a look here. This thing stopped loading, so I got to pull something up real quick. Shooting guards. Let me check one thing. I don't know what that means. All right. So we talked about Harden. Like I said, you mentioned his price on FanDuel. That is definitely high. Prefer him on DraftKings. Looking at some of the other options, I think that we could take a look at a guy like Zach LaVine. Don't love the price on him, but we know he does have tremendous upside. A little concerned with that little 4 OT game. Oh, I'm curious to see how these guys respond. And, you know, the Bulls are not a very good team, so there's always the blowout risk. Jimmy Butler, I do think I like. I believe Embiid is supposed to be out again. And Butler's been playing well enough. He's only 7-1 on DraftKings, and I think you said he was like 8K on FanDuel or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
84, I believe.
I think he's someone we can consider. The FanDuel price is a little high, but that's just how their site is. They price everybody high. But buckets against Orlando. Orlando, not a team that I'm concerned about defensively. They have improved defensively over the last years ago. They were just terrible, but I don't think they've improved enough to contain a guy like buckets. And Orlando's been playing pretty well, so you would think without Embiid, this game has a much better chance to stay close. So I think Jimmy Butler is certainly in play. McCollum has been impressive. I think if you're not playing Dame, then maybe you want to play McCollum, because while in the games that Dame hasn't done well, McCollum has done particularly reasonably well. Against Toronto, he went for 50. Against Cleveland, he went for 50. So there's some upside there. I'm always a little hesitant to play him, especially in a game against Memphis. But and assuming Avery Bradley plays, Bradley may end up covering McCollum if Conley's out. I think Wiggins is kind of interesting, mainly because of where I like to attack Oklahoma City. You figure if Schroeder starts, Wiggins may see some Schroeder defense, and if not him, he's going to get some Ferguson. Either way, shooting guards have done extremely well against Oklahoma City pretty much all year. So I think Wiggins is kind of interesting as a guy that's never really high owned. And on top of that, not that I think Adams can cover Cat. I think Cat is a little too diverse of a player for a guy like Adams to cover. But he's going to make things a little tough for him down low. So if his shot isn't hitting, they're going to have to look elsewhere for a guy to score. And Wiggins would probably fit the bill for that. Teague, not really known as a scorer. Derrick Rose only playing like 20-something minutes a game. So Wiggins would be a guy, I think, that could kind of slide in here. Typically plays a lot of minutes, and I think he could take a lot of shots if the rest of the team, if the defenders do their job against Minnesota. After that, Fournier, a guy we can consider. It's usually a decision between Fournier or Ross when you want to play one of these shooters. I typically prefer Ross most nights, but I do think that in this particular situation against Philly, Fournier, I don't want to knock it out of the question, but pretty sure that I was supposed to stop at 6K, and I just went all the way down to like 5, so I'll pause there.
All right, man. Well, I guess since you're halfway into Value Town, I guess we can just dive in there. I know Hood smashed the other day too at $3,400. He got like a 36 or something like that. So, yeah. What you got down here, man? Below 6K or wherever you got down to?
Yeah, I think from here, Eric Gordon had a really good game against Boston the other day. Shot 11 for 18. He shot 8 for 12 from 3. That's just not something that I really want to bank on. So the price is low enough. I don't mind it. Toronto has struggled at times against shooting guards, so I think he's a possibility, but I'm not going to assume that that's going to be his new norm. JJ Redick has been a little disappointing with him beat out. He had a couple games where he looked good, but his shooting has been awful. He's just shooting terribly. But the thing is, now he's 4'8". Once that shot turns around, he starts to actually make some shots, like some of these shots he's taking. I think he'll shoot a little bit more, and I think that could add to his upside at 4'8" against Orlando. So I do like JJ Redick at 4'8". I mentioned Terrence Ross. I usually prefer him to Fournier, and when looking at the prices, I think I'm going to do it again. I think Ross at 4.7 is a pretty good deal. I know his floor he showed us recently can be pretty pathetic, but I think that the price is decent enough to take a chance on. And then the last guy I'll mention here is Wesley Matthews, another guy that I never really like to play, but the dude has hit over 20 DraftKings points in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight, and he's only 4-1. If the dude can go out there and get you a 30, I think you're in a pretty good position. He's playing Chicago, a team that's terrible defensively. So I think he's also a guy that we could take a look at tomorrow for value.
Alrighty, man. What you got over at small forward?
Well, Paul George is certainly a question mark. We're going to have to see what his status is for him. He's missed 3 straight games, got a right shoulder injury, and you also have to wonder when he does return, how is the shoulder? Because with Paul George, you do need him to score. Yeah, he's going to get some rebounds, he's going to get some steals, all that stuff. But realistically, with Paul George, what the biggest upside factor for him is the actual points that he scores and the amount of shots he takes, especially considering how bad of a shooter Russell Westbrook is. So the price on PG is high. I don't necessarily mind it, but I am a little concerned if he does play how good his shoulder is, considering we are paying such a heavy price tag for him. I think I'd rather play Kawhi Leonard against Houston. Really don't think Houston has an answer for a guy like Kawhi Leonard. I'm assuming that Houston will hang tight in this game against Toronto. These are 2 pretty good teams, 2 playoff teams. I would imagine. So 8-9 for Leonard does kind of feel like a bargain at this position, a position that's not great. What's the price difference between PG and Leonard on FanDuel?
PG's 11.3, Leonard's 9,700.
Yeah, it's tough, man. On a normal circumstance, I would take PG just because the year PG's having is incredible. What him and Westbrook have been doing together has been awesome. But I think that I think I side with Kawhi on this one, and it's close. Don't get me wrong. Houston's not playing particularly fast this year, so it's not like a pace thing. It's more just a price thing. I think I'm saving a lot of money to go with Kawhi. If he can get me a 50, even if PG is healthy and ends up going for 60, I think I could still escape because I'm saving so much money by taking Kawhi Leonard. Tobias Harris, always a guy with Embiid out that is in play. Tobias Harris's minutes have been really impressive. 39, 40, and 44 in his last 3 games. Those are really good minutes. The price has come up a little bit. I know he's power forward on FanDuel, so I'll ask you about him on FanDuel. But Tobias Harris is another one with Embiid out. He's just been getting a ton of usage, taking a ton of shots. He's been really, really involved, and they're playing Orlando. So, it's a guy I'm definitely interested in. Coming down from there, I talked about Wiggins already. I think that's good there.
All right, man. What you get down at Value Town?
Value Town. So Bogdanovich been playing well. His floor has seemed a little higher lately. I don't necessarily believe that's true, but against Chicago, I think it's a good situation matchup-wise. Should get plenty of shots up. The Pacers without Oladipo, there's a lot of shots to take. So I think that I know he's been out for quite a while already, but Bogdanovich has performed fairly well. He's only 5'6" over here. I think that's fair enough. Tatum is a guy we could consider if you want to target that game. I think the price for Tatum at 5'6" isn't bad. But again, I just don't really like what I'm seeing from the Boston, from that whole situation. But if you are coming to this game, I think Tatum is a guy you're going to want to take a look at for sure. After that, I think that Marcus Morris, the price looks good, but he's another one. Played 18 minutes against Houston, an absolute shit game. He's so inconsistent. He's another one of the guys that supposedly is having problems with some of the younger dudes on the team. So I'm a little concerned with these Boston guys. I think Jaylen Brown, at least he's cheap, cheaper at 4.3. And then after that, I think Aminu is fairly priced at 4K. That's a really low price. I just think based off price alone, I know his minutes haven't been completely consistent, but I think it's something to delve into. And then the last guy I'll mention is Gordon Hayward. I know this guy's been awful. 3 straight games, we're like 5 straight games under 20 DraftKings points, but we know he does have upside. Tournament only type of play. If somebody gets ruled out, maybe then he becomes a cash play, but he's 3,900 on DraftKings, and that is just a very, very low price for a guy like Gordon Hayward that has a lot of upside playing against Golden State. Again, the concern there is he's been playing like complete dog shit, but I think I'll stop it right there.
Yeah, I was just looking at Gordon Hayward too. The last game he did smash was against against Philly, so another decent team. So, maybe he shows up today for this one.
Oh, one more guy I'll mention. You already mentioned him, Rodney Hood. I'll just address him. He's 3,400 on DraftKings. I think that's it's always worth a stab if you really need the money. I'm not going to overreact to this game he had against Charlotte. That was a really good situation, and he shot really well from the field. He shot 9 for 14. So at 3-4, you can certainly roll the dice, but I don't necessarily want to overreact. I think the reason he took so many shots is because he was shooting well. So again, another tournament type situation. If you think he's going to shoot well, go for it. But if you think he's going to do what he always does, what he normally does, I don't know if I want to bite that low. But I guess it depends on if you need the money.
Okay. All right, man. What you got over at Power Forward?
So Markkanen has been super impressive. A little concerned with the workload of the Chicago Bull players after that. They had that big 4 overtime game, and then they played the same team in a home and home. But Markkanen's been extremely impressive. Siakam is a guy that I like to consider, but at 6'8", with Gasol now on that team, I'm a little concerned that everybody's going to take a little bit of a usage hit. There's like a pecking order, and I think Gasol is kind of like he's eating into. It's very clear he's eating into everybody else's production at least a little bit. And Siakam is the main one. He's still playing extremely well. His minutes have been pretty healthy. Ibaka's been the one that's suffering from a minutes perspective, but we're not seeing him go for those 40s as consistently. So Siakam is typically a guy that I prefer to see other people out before I take a chance on him. Al Horford at 6'3" is okay. Doesn't really make me go nuts. I think Draymond Green is kind of interesting on DraftKings. Only 5'6". This is a site where you do get bonuses for double-doubles. The issue is now that Boogie's back in full swing and everybody's in there, Draymond's just not shooting, and he shouldn't shoot. He's awful. He's an awful shooter. But on a site where, if he got 6 points, he took 4 shots in his last game against Philly, and he's got 6 actual points. So you figure 2 more baskets, and he gets to 10 actual points. He had 9 rebounds. He had 10 assists. So the triple double upside is not going to come as often, but it is still there. And at 5'6", that is a really low price against a team that has struggled against bigs in the past. I think that Jeremy Grant. I think we've been calling him the wrong name for a long time, but I'm pretty sure it's just Jeremy Grant. He just spells it differently. He's a guy that if PG is out, I'll have more interest in. He's been a little disappointing over his last couple of games without PG, but we know that in the past he's kind of stepped it up. His shooting his last 2 games has been terrible, but the double-digit shot attempts are there. So I don't mind Grant, especially, you're going to see Taj Gibson and Dario Saric, neither of which are playing very good defense right now. So I could certainly take a chance there. Ibaka's price has gotten really low on DraftKings. I honestly didn't even notice how low it got. But with Gasol kind of lingering there and just kind of taking over that role, it's tough to roll the dice. But I will say, Houston is another team that has struggled against big, so I don't mind Ibaka necessarily either.
Okay. A couple of guys I'm interested in because I'm just kind of building a lineup on FanDuel. I got Siakam at 7,600, and then Draymond 6,500, and then Serge Ibaka's 4,700.
Wow,
FanDuel,
47. Man,
47.
47. I like the 7 for sure. The minutes on Ibaka have just been too low. It's just hard, man. 20 minutes, 16 minutes, 20 minutes. It's like they've completely abandoned him. I'm sure if he had a game where he was actually playing well, I'm sure that they would give him a little bit more run. But until we see that, it's just tough to kind of roll the dice there. You mentioned, who are the other guys you mentioned? Siakam at 7.6 just seemed a little expensive. For what we've been seeing.
And then, him and then Draymond at 6,500.
Oh, man. I guess out of those 3, I'd prefer Draymond, but I really don't love Draymond at 6'3". The only reason I talked about him on DraftKings is because of his 5'6" price tag. So it sounds like power forward on FanDuel is going to be a little rough. Yeah. How much is Markkanen over there?
Markkanen is 9,100.
Oh, my God.
FanDuel. Yeah, and then the next most expensive is Tobias Harris at 8.
I think as of right now, things can change tomorrow. This is obviously a first look show, but I think Tobias would be my preferred option out of those guys you mentioned, and then I would probably just punt the second power forward position if I could.
All right, well, get me down to the value time so I know what I'm punting.
All right, let's see what we got. Let's see what we're working with here. Man, it looks like Manimal is only 4.9. I wish I would. I think they may be too healthy for him to be a reliable run at this point. That's just a shame. I love playing that dude. I don't see a ton of value on DraftKings that I haven't already mentioned. I already talked about Aminu. Taj Gibson's only 4K. He's been playing fairly well. I could do Taj Gibson. Mike Scott has got an inconsistent run, but he did have a really good game against Golden State. He's someone we could take a look at. Dario Saric, he's been in the starting lineup. It looks like Taj is still getting majority of the minutes, but I think he is still someone we can consider. Jonah Bolden at 3.9, also somewhat interesting. He's been getting a lot of run, playing some center minutes with Joel Embiid out, so I think Bolden at 3.9 is in consideration. And I'll stop it there. I don't love this particular position. Maybe you could read me some punts from FanDuel, and I can try to roll the dice and see who I'd pick. If power forward sucks on FanDuel, for sure.
Man, Jerebko is the min price 3,500. Birch 3,500. Tolliver 3,500. I've never even heard of half of these guys.
This may be, sometimes on FanDuel I like to kind of designate my drop score, pick my drop score for myself, so that I don't drop a 25 or higher or anything like that. And I'm going to look right now, but that may be a pretty good time to do something like that. Well, I mean, what
about Markieff Morris at 3,800?
Yeah, that would probably be, yeah. I think that's a solid punt. I think if he's terrible, he'll drop. I mean, on FanDuel, you do have some value options. You do got Jonah Bolden's only 4.3. I think that's a decent punt. Markieff Morris, like you said, I would expect him to be my drop score, but he does have the upside to pay that salary off, and it's possible that he wouldn't be. So I think there are actually a couple options. Maybe not in the 3,500 range, And, if you're not looking to play as your drop score, I do think Taj Gibson's kind of interesting. Marcus Morris, the other Morris, also interesting. But yeah, if you're looking for a punt as in like potential drop score status, I think Morris would be my favorite right now.
All right, man. All right, what we got over at center, man? We're almost done here.
Yes. Looking over at centers, Karl Anthony Towns on a tear right now. 3 straight 70 burgers, 55 against Washington, and that was probably what I would consider to be a down performance. He's playing against Steven Adams, who is a good defender, but Towns, like I said earlier, is just a little too diverse for a guy like Adams. Adams does not feel comfortable guarding the perimeter. Towns is completely comfortable out by the perimeter. So matchup-wise, it's really not a great matchup for Adams. What I'm concerned about is Adams is big and strong, so he may make Karl Anthony Towns take more of those perimeter shots. And if he's not hitting those shots, then that's when Towns could kind of struggle. So I'm okay with Towns, but as of right now, I kind of lean towards Wiggins, and that just pains me to say. It really does. I think Vooch is a guy that I would rather play at this point. Take advantage of Philly without Embiid. Without Embiid, they should struggle against centers, and Vooch is playing extremely well this year, coming off a 61 DraftKings point game against Cleveland. So I think Vooch I would prefer as of right now. Boogie Cousins I'm always into. He's 8K over here. I don't love the price. They took off his minutes cap, but he's still not playing like a tremendous amount of minutes. He's playing good minutes, but still 8K is still low for a player like him. Nurkic's price came really down. They're playing Memphis, so he's going to see what Joval and Joakim Noah, some of those guys. But 7K just seems like a pretty good price for him. Again, this is another dude coming off a 60 burger against Charlotte, so I'm a little surprised to see his price so low. Let me see who else we got here. I don't mind Clint Capella. I know he hasn't played particularly well, but 6'6" we know is a pretty good price for a guy like Capella. What's his name? I always forget this goddamn dude's name. If Paul George is out again, Adams is in consideration. He's never really a guy that's ever going to be my favorite center necessarily, but a guy we can certainly look at. I think Sabonis is going to be out again. Miles Turner isn't going to have a true backup, and they're playing Chicago. I know with Rolo in there, they're a little bit better against bigs, but it's still Chicago. They're still bad against bigs in general. I think Miles Turner is a consideration. Marc Gasol is only 5'7". I think that he's a guy I prefer to play with Kawhi Leonard out, but they're playing Houston. They really don't have a defender to stop a guy like Gasol, so I'm cool with that. So center is, I don't want to say deep, but there's certainly some options for sure.
All right, man. What you got value time over at center?
Ooh, I don't see a ton that I like. I think if you really, really want value, you could look at Kyle O'Quinn at 3,600. It is Chicago. He's going to be backing up Miles Turner, I would assume, with I know they got Leaf, but with assuming Sabonis is out. I'm assuming he's out. That note could be old. I'm kind of assuming he's out. But if with Sabonis out, if he's out, I think that O'Quinn is probably my preferred option over Leaf. And again, like I said, it is Chicago. So matchup-wise, it does make sense. But that's kind of like a long shot. Like if you really, really need the value type of thing. Enes Kanter's only 4,500. If he plays against Memphis, I can get down on that. He's only getting like 19, 18, 20 minutes tops. But at 4.5, we know Kanter is a high point per minute player. So that could be all you really need. One other thing I'll mention about going back to Boogie, I did forget this. Kevon Looney has been ruled out, so maybe Boogie does finally get a ceiling of minutes. I guess it depends on how close the game is, but I don't see as much that I like down here. I think I kind of like more what I saw above.
Yeah, Sabonis, it says will remain out for Tuesday's game against the Bulls. So.
You have it.
Yeah, so no Sabonis.
No Sabonis.
All right, man. So now we're going to get into, our top threes here in a second, man. But you want to tell these people out there watching our podcast every day, winning that money, how they can become a real part of the nation, man. Get in that Slack chat, get all that great content they don't get just with the, first look videos. Yeah,
man. Definitely recommend you guys come over. Check us out at westake.com. But like I said, the whole team has been doing a phenomenal job in all sports, not just NBA. But like I said, the hockey guys have been crushing it. Brew Medic and the Hoff. MMA, Wig Splitter has been crushing MMA. The golf guy is Redick is also doing golf cash and DFS. You all know Cash. I'll be doing a podcast with him tomorrow or the next couple of days. But everybody's doing a phenomenal job, and of course, last but not least, the NASCAR team, man, Mr. Tommy Shake and Bake over here, and Cash has been doing his articles in addition. But the NASCAR team has been hot, man. I see screenshots every single week in the Slack chat. That's what I want to see. Like I said, I had to take a little step back to take care of some family stuff, but I should be back some point next week, and I'll dive in full time. In the meantime, just trying to do some podcasts, just keeping the loop and everything like that. But the whole team has been holding it down for me, man. Stevie Brown, Thunder Dan. Paulie doing a phenomenal job. Man, that dude's working his ass off for the nation. And, I hope everybody appreciates what he's doing. The dude is busting his ass, doing pretty much every show that we have. And, just making sure everybody's taken care of. But shout out to the members, man. They've been extremely cool. They've been really supportive through this whole process for me as well. So, I mean, there's no better place to be. If you play DFS, and we got some other things, other markets we're looking to explore, wink, wink. Coming up, but if you do any of that stuff with sports, like this is the place to be. This is the premier DFS community. So I will say this: we have day passes that are $2.50. If you want to try the content for yourself for NBA, it's only $2.50. You'll get access to all the content. The only thing you won't get is the Slack chat. That's for monthly members only or higher. And then the last thing I'll say regarding that stuff is don't miss out on MLB. I know you guys are some of you guys are basketball fans. You don't want to hear us talk about MLB. I understand. But I don't think you understand how lucrative baseball can really, really be, especially when you know what the hell you're doing. So we did extend our season pass for another week, I think. So this Friday, I think it expires. I recommend you get over there and you lock that shit up. If you're an All Sports monthly member, you're fine. But if you are a season pass holder or you're a day pass person, I recommend you take the savings, make the small investment now, and make sure that you're ready for baseball because our team is loaded when it comes to baseball. And don't get me wrong, basketball, we all love it. It's all fun. It's very profitable for us. Everything's great. But baseball is truly a phenomenal DFS sport, and it is growing. As people get sick of this NBA injury shit, baseball is going to grow, and it's going to keep growing. The prize pools are going to get bigger. You might want to make sure you get your foot in the door now. So check us out on Twitter at @wise_take. Make sure you go over there. Check out the MLB promo. Use the MLB promo code. Like I said, it should be good till this Friday, and get yourself the MLB season pass. You are doing yourself a disservice, a disjustice, if you do not take advantage of the sale.
Yeah, no, last year for baseball, man, I mean, I watch baseball all the time, but it is so hard to follow so many games all in the same day and these multiple slates, man. I could just dive right in, look at the cheat sheets or you guys' articles, and I made some dynamite lineups last year. A couple, I play the smaller stuff on like FanDuel and stuff like that, but I won like $140 last year on like a $10 entry. So yeah, man, he's not lying, bro. Baseball is CK's game. CK knows the ins and outs, man. I know that the model you guys got built for that was on point last year too. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to baseball myself. So all right, man. So what you got? What's your top three over at point guard, man?
So I'm gonna use Harden here because I don't like him on FanDuel at that price. So I'm gonna say James Harden. I'm going to say Dame Lillard. And let's go with, I'm going to go with Jeff Teague for now.
All right, man. What you got over shooting guard?
Shooting guard, I'm going to go with Jimmy Buckets. I know he's a little expensive over there, but I'm going to go with Jimmy Buckets. I'm going to go with Andrew Wiggins. And then let's go with, I'm going to go with Avery Bradley here.
AB. So, all right, man. What's your top three small forwards?
Kawhi Leonard. Let's go with Kawhi Leonard, JJ Redick, and Terrence Ross.
Okay, so you give me 4 on that one, huh?
Did I? Kawhi Leonard,
so.
JJ Redick, and Terrence Ross.
Oh, I thought you got my bad. It's late, man. I'm tired.
Yeah.
All right, what you got over at power forward, brother?
Tobias Harris. I gotta say, Draymond Green, at least on DraftKings, at 5.6. On FanDuel, the price, you do need him to perform a little better at that point. And then I'll go with Jonah Bolden. But on FanDuel, I do like the idea of Markieff Morris as a punt.
Okay. All right, man, but last but not least, we got center.
Centers, let's go with Vooch. Let's go with Boogie. And I guess I'll say Miles Turner. There you go. Oh, wasn't so bad.
All right, man. So as we've been going through, I've been building some over FanDuel. I got two positions left. I got 54.50 left for those two positions, man. So point guard, I got Dame. I'm missing the other point guard. Shooting guard, I got Wes Matthews. Missing the other shooting guard. And then I've got Kawhi, Bogdanovich, Tobias Harris, Markieff Morris, and then Marc Gasol. Sorry. So I need a point guard and a shooting guard right around the $5,500 range average. Too.
Word up. Are you asking me to fill that in, or are you just letting me know?
Yeah, whatever you think. You got somebody down there you think would look good and fit in over there just for my first.
You're talking about FanDuel, right?
Yeah.
Right, so you said you got Dame. Oh God, Dame is 9,400 over there. Oh my God!
I need a 60 Birkin.
That's a tall ass. But the thing is, with FanDuel, is everybody's overpriced, so it's not that crazy. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Let's see what we could do here, though. Oof, that is a steep price to ask. On FanDuel, you know what? Honestly, on FanDuel, I would prefer to get Westbrook because I know it's gonna switch up your whole build. But I would prefer, if you're paying 94 for Dame, the whole reason I like Dame over Westbrook on DraftKings is because of how cheap Dame is. But on FanDuel, the discount isn't that much. It's a $2,000 discount, which is enough. But for the amount of usage that Westbrook normally has, I think I would probably go with Westbrook over Dame in that particular circumstance. Who were you shooting? Who are the shooting guards you had?
I just have Wesley Matthews so far, 5,100.
Wesley Matthews at 51. All right, why don't we go with Wesley Matthews is fine, but at that, you know what, at that price, I'd rather take either Terrence Ross or Schroeder, because Wesley Matthews is 4-1 on DraftKings, and that's a site where you get extra points for 3-pointers. On FanDuel, you're not really getting a ton to go with Wesley Matthews, so I would rather take a Terrence Ross, or really, I'd rather just go up to Schroeder at that point. So put in Westbrook, Schroeder. For small forward, Kawhi Leonard is 9,700, but this position really wasn't that great.
Yeah.
So
no, power forward was it was small forward. So
yeah, power forward wasn't so pretty either. I remember.
No.
For now, I'm gonna punch in Kawhi Leonard, and we'll come back to it. Power forward, we'll go with Tobias. Centers. Who was the center you had?
Gasol.
6'6" isn't a terrible price tag for him, and there's really not a ton to see under there. You could punt with O'Quinn over here, but then that means you got to be. Let's work backwards here. Let's plug in Markieff as your punt at power forward. Let's see what we're working with. So, point guard, we need a punt. Let's say. I don't hate the idea of Jeremy Lin, even though he's looked like complete ass. Oof. Yeah, it's rough. I guess we can get a little risky and go with, actually, Derrick Rose is only 5'6". I don't necessarily mind that. How much is Wiggins? I know I'm kind of bouncing around. He's 6'4". Damn, FanDuel. Touche, FanDuel. Good job. You priced all these dudes up, man. But that's a good thing, though. I think on FanDuel, maybe it makes more sense to look at some of these guys Rodney Hood, I think makes more sense over on this site because of the drop score feature. Now, you don't want to get too many guys that are risky because you can only drop one player. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you may drop more than that. Depending on the injury news, this Bruno dude could be an interesting punt. Bruno I can't fucking ever say his name. For now, let's punch in Hood there. We can always pivot based off news tomorrow. So let's take a look at the shooting guards. I think that Wayne Selden is an interesting punt. He's only 3'7". We could punch him in. That gives us 6,800 now to work with. Now we have a little bit more to work with here. So let's go with... let's try Derrick Rose. And then that gives us 8K for a center, which would give us, Valanciunas? I could live with that. Or how much is Boogie? Boogie is A7. So we'd have to come down from Rose 700. Could we do that? It's ugly, but we could. We could go to a Corey Joseph. Right? And then that leaves us 400. So we can now upgrade off of Rodney Hood. You see how the backwards planning works? which puts us on Gordon Hayward. So, again, this is a first look, guys. Like, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this lineup necessarily. Me and Tom are just kind of going through and just throwing this together. But Westbrook, Corey Joseph, Schroeder, Selden, Kawhi Leonard, Hayward, Tobias Harris, Marquise Morris, Boogie Cousins. That's just a rough draft. If you wanted to upgrade your point guard, we could have played Jonas Valanciunas, and that would have given us the extra 400 to go up there and play like a Derrick Rose if you wanted to. So that's certainly an option. But there's going to be some options. There's enough cheap guys you could take a chance on for sure.
All right, man. So that's it for us again for here, the Wise Tech NBA DFS podcast, man. CK, take us home, brother.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it, man. It feels good to be back. I know first show I've done in a while, but it feels good to be back. I'll be in the hosting chair tomorrow night, and I think tomorrow and Wednesday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, I should be in the hosting chair with Cash, and then I think after that, take a little break until I'm back home, which again, hopefully is next week, and we'll dive in head first. But again, shout out to you, Tom. Shout out to the rest of the nation, the staff, the members, everybody holding it down while I'm away taking care of things. Do appreciate you. You know, always a special place in my heart for the West State Nation. Always will be. I know a lot of people have been asking where I am, where I've been. Did not leave. I kind of own the company, so don't think I'm going anywhere anytime soon. So just some of the people that are out there wondering, no, I did not leave. Just taking care of stuff. I'll be back soon. I appreciate everybody. Aside from that, if you're watching on YouTube, please click that thumbs up, that like button. Hit this. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications bell so you are notified whenever we do go live. If you're watching us on Twitch or Twitter, give us a follow, give us a retweet. And if you're listening to us on Podbean or iTunes, give us some 5-star reviews. Help us up those charts. All these things really help us out to go a long way. So if you're watching, you're a fan of the show, all we ask you show a little bit of love. Don't forget to go to wisestate.com and check out the merch section. Even if you don't want to, fork it over for the content, get yourself some merch. We got hoodies, t-shirts, whatever you need to rep the nation on a daily basis. Do what you do. We appreciate you. For Tommy SB, for myself, the entire Wise State Nation, as always, good luck.